A big warm welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a little gadget that I wanted to share with you. Just some insights just to get us going on the HackMotion wrist sensor device. They reached out to me, sent me one, thought I would have a little go with it, and if I felt that it was applicable, I would do a video on it on my channel. Well, I'm doing a video, so I do believe that it has some real application in sharing insights into what you're doing with your golf swing. As you'll see on the screen, you can have insight live time with the flexion and extension of my left wrist and the ulnar and radial deviation of my wrist too. I don't like using fancy schmancy words too much. I think it just, people zone out when you start using wrist extension, flexion, ulnar deviation, radial deviation. But for the purposes of this video, hopefully you can cut me a little bit of slack because I think it will really give you some insight. The HackMotion device does offer up many variables to measure. As you can see, it's all live at the moment. I've got it up in front of me. I would normally have it up on the big plasma. It won't allow me to record the screen whilst I do that, so it's on my iPad. And so every time you hit a shot, it registers when you make contact, and at the point of contact, it then shares the data points. It's important to reference that anytime you place a bit of kit on your body, we're always susceptible to it moving. Obviously, the hand is moving quite quickly through swing. But the point is, even after calibration, even if it was to move a degree or so, as long as you appreciate that the relevance of the data is from the address position. So the 28, positive 28, which is the extension that I've got in my left wrist due to being a strong gripper, all of the data points thereafter are the relationship to that point. So as I got to the point, to the top of my backswing, you can see I had 38 degrees of wrist extension. So I actually made the face more open, and then down through strike, I bent my left wrist over, and you can see the ball bent to the left. Now, HackMotion's advice is that making your left wrist flat through contact is an important variance or important variable. For me, I disagree with that. I disagree that we should be actively encouraging golfers to bend your left wrist through strike. So much so that I'm now going to hit a shot, and I'm now going to go into wrist extension through strike. You can see I've got 48 degrees there of wrist extension. I'm going to come on to the ulnar and radial deviation in a moment. But I'm now going to hit a shot. I'm going to still make the golf ball draw. I'm going to cup my left wrist through strike. And we're going to see a draw. And we're going to see positive 9 degrees of wrist extension. So at strike, my left wrist, as you can see on the screen there, was there. I mean, it wasn't massive, but it certainly wasn't bowed over, which is what a lot of golfers out there will be trying to encourage. The problem is that the volatility of this handle is extreme. Where the handle moves really has a huge influence on the left wrist and the angles that we see that the HackMotion device is pushing out there. So if you were to simply go ahead and think about going into flexion with your left wrist, and I'm going to flex my left wrist through strike here, and then I'm going to hit me a shot, I had 21 degrees of wrist flexion, yet we only saw 4 degrees, just over 4 degrees of negative face to path. The fact that we are looking for, or the advice is to flex the left wrist, is to offset the amount the golfer has pushed the handle out to the right to overcome it with flattening out the left wrist, because you can now see that the face is back to straight. If you're tired of paying too much for premium leather gloves, do go over and check out GXGolfGloves.com. These are gloves that are trusted by elite amateurs and tour players alike. If you use my product code of Good Coaching, you'll receive 10% off your next order. These are the finest grade Cabretta leather, and certainly a product that I've got a lot of trust in. So do go over, check them out, and get yourself one of the best gloves on the market. If I were to go back to the positive 8 degrees that I had in my left wrist, look how the club face is almost looking at the TV screen. So when people have used this device in the past, I believe they've come slightly unstuck by the message that coaches, HackMotion, the various people that have used it to just work on flattening it out through strike. I think it's a dangerous game to play that way. So just to reiterate, now that I'm going to come through, I'm going to encourage more wrist extension down through strike, and we're going to go back to seeing a much straighter shot. 17, positive 17 with a dead straight shot. So if you were to pick up one of these units and you just go down the route of trying to flatten out your left wrist, I think you'll be in a nasty place with it, getting yourself in all sorts of bother. I'm really scratching the surface here, and I just want to show you the kind of insights that this HackMotion device is going to give me, to give you the opportunity that when I'm talking you through the variables in the golf swing and the beliefs that I have about how we get better at this game, HackMotion gives you a really, really tenable insight into what you're doing with arguably the most important area of the hub of the swing, which is the linkage between the shoulder and the club head. And I talk about it all of the time, don't I? With broom drills, TheraBand drills, Swiss ball drills, it's always in relation to how much pressure a golfer is putting on the handle. And when you put pressure on the handle, look at how much wrist extension I get. And then when we start to think about how the wrist works and look at the ulnar and the radial deviation that we start to see as I start to change the shape of my wrist and my forearms, we've got some huge exploration to go down with this device. We haven't even got warmed up on the radial and ulnar deviation and all of the various other rotations and tempo measurements that the HackMotion device gives us. So do consider looking at purchasing one of these units. They've sent me the Pro version. It gives us all the bells and whistles of all of the different variables, and there's loads of different parts to the program. Allows you to measure putting, and again, the application of this for short game is extensive, easy for me to say. And so as a base model at 250 euros, I believe, I think giving you some simple wrist flexion, extension, radial ulnar movement is something that you can really use to help you with your game. There's going to be a code in the descriptions below that's going to give you 5% off. Obviously, I'm going to get a commission on every unit I sell, but I'm not going to push anything on my channel that I don't believe that's going to help you with your golf game. So if that's something that you believe can help you with your game, I certainly do. Hence why I'm using it and will be using it in my videos going forwards. Go check them out, use the code, and hopefully you've had a little bit of an insight into how wrist flexion and extension does not dictate whether you're going to hit a draw or fade. You cannot just simply go bowed left wrist at impact and expect to see a draw, because where the handle moves will offset how much you move your wrist in. I think you'll find that's good coaching. I look forward to seeing you next time.